Good morning and good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of Before Coffee. It is our Friday news dump where we cover all of the news before the weekend so you don't have to worry about it. We'll tell you everything that's going on. You can just go on into the world, into the weekend, probably sleep the whole time through. That's what Roger's going to do. Roger's going to sleep the whole way through the weekend, and we'll wake you up on Monday for some more news. This is Before Coffee, the father and daughter comprehensive news of Planet Earth podcast, where we look up our stories 10 to 15 minutes before we start the show. And we haven't had any caffeine. That's right, we rolled out of bed, and we're here for you to tell you what's going on. So let's get into those headlines. Today on Before Coffee, France warms to ideas of seizing Russian assets in Europe. Eurostar cancels all trains from London after unexploded World War II bomb found near Paris Garde du Nord station.
This is Roger from the United States, where a college football conference is embracing women's flag football. The rest of the country be next.
15 hurt after South Korean fighter jets accidentally bomb a village. Eavan Boland, Trinity College, Ireland's oldest university, named its first building after a woman.
And we're going to talk about the world's fastest commuter jet, which just broke its 100th speed record.
Oh, Sesame Street nonprofit to be hit with layoffs after the staff announced union.
And it's National Hospitalis Day. I'm not exactly what that means, but I think it has something to do with working at a hospital because there's a picture of a nurse or a doctor and a nurse or a bunch of people working in a hospital. But it's National Hospitalis Day, March 7th, 2024 on Before Coffee.
It's always good to keep learning new words so that you can discover the different ways that we describe things, like a hospitalis.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's like a smaller hospital, like, not a big one, just a small one.
No, it's a person that works at a hospital, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, okay. So instead of saying doctor or nurse, which are highly genderized terms, some people would argue, you can just say that. There you go. Gender neutral person who works at a hospital.
Doctor.
I'm all for gender neutrality. All right, let's get our wheel going here for our segues.
Are definitely not gender specific.
I should just make a new thing for this. I was going to do that, but then I forgot. Okay. Keep forgetting to make a new thing for this. All right, let's roll the wheel.
It's just anybody who works in a freaking hospital, I guess. Whatever.
All right.
Weird.
I hope my next stories remind you of a song.
Okay.
This news is coming out of France. Paris is looking into whether Russia's 200 billion euros can be used to guarantee new loans to Ukraine. This is by Georgi Lili and Te Noslinger, coming out of Paris. France is warming up to the possibility of seizing Russian frozen assets to help Ukraine, said an official with direct knowledge of talks within the French government and between Paris and Berlin. The official, who was granted anonymity to speak freely on a delicate matter, said members of the French government have privately discussed seizing the assets, including their German counterparts, and potentially using them to guarantee loans for Kyiv. European authorities froze around 200 billion euros in Russian assets held in Brussels-based financial institution Euroclear after Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine began in February 2022. G7 countries agreed last year to use profits coming from those assets to back a $50 billion loan to Ukraine, but ruled out using the underlying assets directly as it risks breaching international law. But who cares about international law when there's an entire country just ignoring it? French ministers also had publicly rejected the possibility for legal reasons, and as those assets are the property of Russia's central bank. Economy Minister Eric Lombard told France Info that if France is not directly at war with Russia, these assets could not be seized, as that would be contrary to international agreement. With the U.S. convicted felon Donald Trump seemingly ready to disengage from European security, the continent is scrambling to shore up its defenses and support for Kyiv. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen on Tuesday, which was the 4th of March, announced a plan to send loans up to 150 billion euros to governments to help them boost military spending. Convicted felon Trump's decision to pause military aid to Ukraine and seeming nonchalant about Russia's history of violating peace agreements have prompted a renewed interest in the idea of leveraging Russian frozen assets. Baltic and Nordic countries, Russia's neighbors, think the money should be handed to Ukraine immediately. France, however, is only considering using those assets to guarantee more loans to support Ukraine, according to official quotes earlier in the story. High-level French officials have in recent days publicly hinted at a 200 billion euro that could provide Brussels and Kyiv with powerful leverage over the Kremlin in any peace negotiations, Washington-led or otherwise. The Financial Times earlier reported on talks between France, Germany, and the United Kingdom to use frozen assets as a way to get Russia to respect a peace deal. However, Macron's office denied such a discussion had taken place. They might have discussed it, but I wasn't there. French President Emmanuel Macron said last week in Washington that the frozen assets should be part of a negotiation at the end of the war, while his Europe Minister Benjamin Haddad told France 2 on Tuesday, the 4th of March, that using the assets as leverage was something that the government would look into. However, like Macron and Lombard, Haddad noted that legal issues at play in the fact that seizing the assets without clear legal authority could spook investors. No, not the investors. Are we running a fucking country here or a corporation? Like, I'm so tired of people using business lingo for government. Like,
right.
It's not the same thing. They're not the same. Governments aren't supposed to make money. They're supposed to lose money. You give them money and then they spend it. That's what they do. Investors. Your investors is your tax. That's what your investors are. Fuck off. Anyways, the UK government has backed using frozen assets to support Ukraine, and while Germany has opposed the option, the government of incoming Chancellor Friedrich Merz could change course. Norbert Roten, a senior lawmaker for Merz's Christian Democrat Union, called for using those assets to support Kyiv. So, looks like there's a little bit more push towards using that for other means. This was on Politico. Do you have anything to add to that story? Any comments? Critiques?
No, it's supposed to be reminding me of a song, but I got nothing so far.
Alright, well that's okay, because we've got a bomb at the Paris Garde du Nord station. Don't worry, it hasn't gone off and it hasn't exploded and killed thousands. This is by Andy Gregory on The Independent. Eurostar has cancelled all trains between London and Paris throughout Friday. So today, what is today? The 7th of March? Until who knows when. After the discovery, an unexploded Second World War bomb disrupted traffic at Paris's busy Gare du Nord station. Can't believe we're in 2025 and we're still finding bombs from World War II. This is why we don't want a world war, by the way, guys. It's not just the loss of life, how much it's going to cost people, how people will suffer, but also you will not stop finding bombs for a very long time. We're going to be finding drones, exploding drones. Millennia into the future, we have a third world war. An unexpected bomb from the Second World War was discovered near the tracks, French National Railway Company TER said. The bomb was discovered in the middle of the tracks. That's crazy. Just in the middle, just sitting there near Paris and set around 4 a.m., prompting disruption which is affecting both local metros and national and international trains. Eurostar said in a statement, due to the discovery last night of an unexploded bomb from the Second World War during work carried out on the tracks at St. Denis, north of Paris, traffic has been completely halted to and from Gare du Nord. As a result, all Eurostar trains are cancelled to and from Paris today. Fridays are typically an extremely busy day for Eurostar, as trains later in the day are heavily booked. Yeah, people are like, let's go to Paris for the weekend, or let's go to London for the weekend. Not today. Sorry. You're gonna have to take the bus, which is 5 hours. Gare du Nord is Europe's busiest rail station. It serves 214 million passengers a year, according to Eurostar. France's national train operator, SNCF, said the traffic would be stopped at the Gare du Nord until mid-morning at the request of police. We invite travelers to postpone their trip, it said. You're gonna have to go on Saturday, hopefully. The bomb was discovered in the middle of the tracks in the suburb of Saint-Denis during overnight works on Thursday, the 6th of March, with bomb disposal experts working on the scene throughout the night, Le Parisien newspaper reported SNF as saying. It isn't uncommon for bombs left over from world wars to be discovered in France, but to find them in such a people-packed location is rare. It's so sad that it's not uncommon. You know, that's what I'm saying. People don't want world wars. We don't want minefields. We don't want unexploded bombs found in the middle of population centers. How'd all those people die? Well, there's a bomb from 80 years ago went off. French Transport Minister Philippe Tabarot told broadcaster Sud Radio that local residents and people near train stations should have no fear of a risk of explosion, stressing the procedures in place for defusing and removing such bombs. Fabien Villet-Du, head of the SUD Rail Union, shared a picture of the unexploded bomb on social media, which he said weighed 300 kilograms. While bombs left over from First and Second World Wars are regularly discovered around France, it's rare for them to be found here. However, train stations are often a target of Allied forces as they sought to disrupt Germany's war effort. Oh, so it's a British bomb or an American bomb. Mr. Tabarot warned that there would be a disruption throughout the day. Eurostar said on its website, due to an object on the tracks near Paris, you are expecting disruptions until this morning. But you can exchange your tickets for free to travel at a different time or date in the same travel class. This is subject to availability. Passenger rights are much weaker in rail travel than they are in air travel, meaning they may not be guaranteed alternative transport as soon as possible, plus meals, hotels as they wait. So, at least they try to do such things. I mean, you can also maybe take a bus, what is it called? Flexbus buses are available to get to London and Paris. That's what I took the first time I went to London. It is longer, but if you really need to get to London or Paris, you're just going to have to settle with that, unfortunately. So, that remind you of a song? Got a song for me?
Reminds me of the song Spanish Bombs by The Clash.
I didn't know they made bombs in Spain.
Well, the song is about the Spanish Civil War in the 1930s. And the Clash were intellectual punk band. They weren't just writing songs about the world, but they actually did, they were very varied. I mean, if you know the Clash, right?
Yeah.
Not just a punk band. Anyway, Spanish Bombs, that's what it reminds me of. For no specific reason.
Okay.
Because that's word bombs in it. There you go. All right.
All right, let's roll my segue here for your story.
We're going to talk about American football.
All right, I finally got this alliteration, so I have to do 3 words with alliteration.
3-word headline, at least 3. It might not be that bad. An NCAA conference, NCAA stands for National Collegiate Athletic Association, is embracing women's flag football. Will the rest of the country be next? This is from Andrew Greif. That's his name. Greif. Andrew Greif. Or Greif. Maybe Greif. Or Greif. Greif. Anyway, this is from NBCNews.com. Viewers who were still paying attention to commercials during Philadelphia's Super Bowl blowout over Kansas City last month may have spotted something different amid the expected advertisements for pizza, beer, and mayonnaise. Women's flag football. That spotlight wasn't by accident. Obviously, it wasn't by accident. It cost a lot of money to buy.
Who put these women on the field?
In this past week, the sport got another boost. The Atlantic Coast Conference, or the ACC, a collection of small schools in the the Atlantic East Conference. I can't read it right now. The Atlantic East Conference, which I've never heard of, a collection of small schools in the NCAA's smallest division, announced last Wednesday it will launch a women's flag football season in March, kicking off with a media event in Philadelphia on Monday at the home stadium of reigning Super Bowl champion Eagles. And becoming what it says the first NCAA conference at any level to sponsor a season of women's flag football, the Atlantic East said it was setting the stage for a new era of growth and recognition for the sport. Not all of the conference's 7 members will field the team, though 3 outside schools are flag season only. The Atlantic East plan made news perhaps less for specifics of the actual competition. Centenary against Immaculata, anyone? Centenary and Immaculata. Sounds like a couple of Jesuit schools, right? But more so because it reflects growing participation in sport across the country. At the high school level, 14 states, including California, Florida, and Pennsylvania, which are 3 big states, have sanctioned the sport for varsity play, with 18 more states testing in the pilot program. Nearly 43,000 girls participated last year, according to statistics released in February by the National Federation of State High School Associations, double the year's previous figure. Yes, women in sports is growing. And I think high salaries are driving people away from men's sports, because why do these guys make so much money? They don't even try half the time. In college, the Atlantic East is the first conference to sponsor a season, but at least 65 NCAA schools have already sponsored women's flag football as either a club or varsity sport, according to the NCAA. That's how every sport starts, as a club or varsity sport, where they play intramural games on campus. And flag football received a potential boost in its bid to become the NCAA sanctioned sport when the Committee on Women's Athletics recommended on February 12th that flag football be added to the NCAA's Emergency Sports for Women program. Emerging sports, not emergency. Emergency sports. It's an emergency. Play football. Anyway, emerging sports for women program. Should flag football pass the new review process, it would then need at least 40 schools to sponsor a team at the varsity level, as well as host enough competitions and field enough players to be considered eligible for official NCAA championship. The biggest prize, of course, is the Olympic gold medal, as men's and women's flag football will be contested in 2028 when Los Angeles hosts the Summer Olympics. The growth has been championed, not surprisingly, from the very top of the NFL, which hinted it could eye the sport as having a much bigger future. The NFL is probably going to invest in it. You watch. There'll be a professional sports league starting in the next 10 years, I'll bet. We really feel at this time there's a strong momentum, strong need, particularly for women, to be able to participate in the sport they hadn't had the opportunity to do. NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell told the Associated Press in 2024, there was a chance for us to do it internationally on a global basis with young women and young boys, and really built it across the different levels, from youth to high school to college, and maybe someday a professional league. On Sunday, the Dallas Cowboys helped launch a formation of regional high school girls flag football leagues across Texas. You'd think with Texas would grab a hold of this as much as they love football. According to NBC, Dallas-Fort Worth, about 2,000 female student athletes will play through March, April, and May in the Star in Frisco. At the Star in Frisco, in school campuses or in district facilities, with a championship tournament held at Ford Center in Frisco in May. Frisco is the name of the town in Texas. It's in San Francisco, as people like to call it. Frisco is a town in towards the Rio Grande area. Dallas co-owner and chief brand officer Charlotte Jones and NFL vice president of flag football Stephanie Kwok joined Cowboys quarterback Dak Prescott and high schoolers for a kickoff event at the AT&T Stadium, which is in Dallas. I remember growing up as it was called powder puff football in my day, and that truly is what it was. But it was just an after-school pickup game, Jones said. Now to see that this game, the game of flag football, has the opportunity to send girls to college is truly amazing. And beyond that, to send them to the Olympics, we have really made such incredible strides. It's just exciting to see. It couldn't be Olympic sport. In the announcement, the chairwoman of the NCAA's Committee for Women's Athletics thanked the RCX Sports Foundation and USA Football submitting the application to be considered an emerging sport. The nonprofit USA Football says its mission is to advance, unify, and grow the sport of football. RCX Sports helps professional sports leagues run their youth counterparts and events across the U.S. and Canada by providing licensed uniforms and other licensed uniforms. That's real important. My uniform has a license. And another resources according to its website. Licensed uniforms just mean they cost more because somebody's getting some money for the licensing fee. That's all. Some organization, usually the NFL. The NFL is all behind it. buy your licensed gear. RCX Sports has helped the NFL operate its flag football league, dubbed NFL Flag, the same league that received the Super Bowl spotlight treatment with its own commercial. There's your story about the future of gender equity in football. Of course, it's going to be flag football because women are smaller and probably gets way more injuries than men. I mean, tackle football, as what one person said, it's like being in 60 car accidents in one day.
Yeah.
So
I just want to remind you, though, of course, that women play rugby. It's fine.
Yeah.
Don't have any problem with rugby. And you're definitely slamming your bodies into each other on rugby. Women also play, what is that? Roller skating. I can't remember. Roller skate derby.
Rollerblade, yeah. And they also wrestle.
Yeah, I'm just saying, if it's women beating each other up, it's just the same as if they're beating each other up in any other sport, okay?
Yeah.
So, I understand it.
And, American football is a violent collision sport.
Yeah, I understand. Women can collide with each other too. So
they can, but I don't know. Anyway, there's your story.
Furious female footballers flag following 15 fighter jets. Oh, no, I couldn't think of anything else. Because plenty of words. Well, it's because I have 15 hurt villagers by fighter jets in my next story, so I was trying to combine them together, but I think that's enough alliteration for that.
You gotta write a headline for the specific story.
Why would I segue into your story when we're already done with it? See, that doesn't make any sense to me.
It's a headline. It's a headline for the story, man. That's what you're writing. The headline for this story.
Well, I did it.
If you're doing the wrong
Furious female footballers flag physically. Haha. It's technically alliteration.
It sounds the same. Okay. All right. Then.
All right. Let's roll your wheel.
Why are they furious?
Furious because I guess the men are finally giving them permission to run around on a field. I don't know. That's what it sounds like to me, from my perspective.
Okay.
A bunch of, specifically the NFL, right? It's probably a bunch of men who are like, oh yeah, we'll support you. It's a bunch of, in a way, it's like men are giving you permission to do something. You have to write a limerick.
I have to write a limerick about, oh boy.
A lot of things, because I have two stories. Our first story is a short story coming out of South Korea. Now, we're giving Russia slack for not being very well trained with their air support, shooting down helicopters and all that, dropping bombs on people. Well, South Korea is also guilty of such a mistake, a terrible accident. This is from Roy Sullivan on Euronews. The incident happened shortly before the U.S. and South Korea are due to start joint military drills. 15 people have been injured in South Korea after two of the country's fighter pilots accidentally dropped bombs over a civilian area during training exercises. What does this button do? Wow, it's a good thing we put an armed bomb inside of our training exercising. Why would you, make sure you arm our fighters with bombs while we're doing a training exercise, just in case. After 10 a.m. local time, 2 a.m. Central European time, and which would be, 10 p.m. Eastern, which would be where I'm continuing to subtract numbers. It was at nighttime in the U.S., at daytime in Korea. Two KF-16 planes released 8, not just one, but 8 Mark 82 bombs over a village near Pocheon, a town close to the country's heavily fortified border with North Korea, the South Korean Air Force said. Oh man, those people must have thought, oh shit, North Korea's attacked. They must have been panicking like crazy. While some of the injuries were serious, none of the victims were left in good condition, according to local media. That's good to hear. Several houses, a Catholic church, and greenhouses were partially damaged by the bombs, which did not directly hit them. Pocheon Mayor Park Yong-hyun also confirmed that the town hosts 3 military firing ranges called the bombings off. Yeah, No one's gonna say, wow, good thing they bombed our village. Of course it was awful. An unnamed South Korean Air Force official told reporters that one of the pilots had entered the wrong bombing coordinates. What were they I guess they're training bombing. Okay. The cause of the second pilot's error is unknown. South Korea's Air Force apologized for the incident, vowing to pay compensation to the victims, to whom it wished a quick recovery. It added that a thorough investigation would be launched into what had happened. Oh, I mixed up 7 and 15, and now here we are. Soon after the bombs were dropped, the South Korean military said it was suspending all live fire drills across the country. Yeah, let's not bomb any more villages today, or for a while. It comes just days before the scheduled U.S.-South Korean annual joint military exercises begin. The Freedom Shield drills are designed to enhance allies' readiness to respond to threats from Pyongyang. So, there's your story on dropping bombs on villages by accident. Good thing nobody has been hurt. It doesn't even think like anyone's seriously injured, right? So, hopefully nobody... Oh no, some of them were serious, but none of them are fatal. But yeah, none of them are left in critical condition. So, hopefully nobody is injured. It's killed as a result of this terrible accident. And I guess they're going to have to start raising money to rebuild the church that got bombed. And their houses. I think the government should pay for the houses, at least. Alright. Speaking of buildings, Ireland's oldest university is finally naming one of its buildings after a woman. That's right, women contribute to the intelligence of the human race as well. Let's celebrate them. This is by Cathy Rose O'Brien on Edition. Trinity College, Dublin may have been founded by Queen Elizabeth I, but over 400 years, every building on the prestigious university campus has been named after a man. Until now. This month, an official ceremony marks the renaming of one of the main libraries of Ireland's leading university, formerly named after a supporter of slavery, in honor of the internationally acclaimed Irish poet Eavan Boland. Eavan Boland's poetry helped write women back into history. Mary Robinson, Ireland's first female president and former United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights, told CNN via email. She redefined the literary canon to include women's voices and those on its margins, Robinson said of the poet, who died in 2020. The striking Paul Corliak design library that will soon bear the feminist thinker's name is considered the country's best example of brutalist architecture. A concrete and ashlar granite cube, the late modernist building also comprises a soft side through a curved glass bay windows and bronze frames. The built-in individual study nooks are still used by students 60 years later. Concrete walls, poured on site in Douglas fir molds, have a faint wood grain. Called the New Library when it opened in 1967, a decade later it was named after renowned 18th century philosopher George Berkeley. Berkeley, an academic and bishop, profited from the international slave trade and promoted ideas of enslavement throughout his life. This is why we're renaming it. Let's stop naming buildings after slavers. I don't like slavers in any form, okay? Video games, I always kill them. I see a slaver, they're dead, okay? I don't care why they did it. I can't agree with it. Unfortunately, Berkeley is already dead, so instead they have to kill him metaphorically, abstractly even, by taking his name off the building. During the global Black Lives Matter movement that followed George Floyd's murder in 2020, students called for denaming of the building. Their petition sparked a 30-year denaming and renaming process that engaged both the college community and the wider public. Had the name gone unchallenged, it would have been a quite endorsement of the past of which other people had suffered, said Philomena Mullen, assistant professor at the Black Studies at the university. On a personal level, Mullen said she found it very hard to go in and sit in the building commemorating somebody who thought that somebody like me didn't have any value. Well, you had value as a slave, don't forget that. As stock for their portfolio and their trade. After almost a year and a half of deliberation, Eavan Boland was chosen from 855 public submissions made. Boland, Ireland's leading feminist poet, according to New York Times Books Review, taught at Stanford University in California for years, having served as director of creative writing for over 2 decades when she died at the age of 75. Moving Berkeley's name created a freehold on a piece of architecture that was really good for Eavan Boland, said Geraldine Maney, professor of cultural theory at the University of College Dublin. Boland told CNN she was also pleased with the choice because Boland was concerned with who gets written into history and who is left out. It is not the first time Trinity has confronted questions over a woman's place in its history. "Over my dead body will women enter the college," George Salmon, university provost at the end of the 19th century, is reputed to have said. A month after his death, Trinity enrolled 3 women students. He said "over my dead body," becoming the first of historic universities of Ireland and Britain to admit women in 1904. So it's only been 120 years since women have been allowed to go to that university. Yikes. It now has a student body that is 60% female and elected its first female provost in 2021, and now its first female building. Boland has become the public poet of Ireland, following the footsteps of the late Nobel Prize winning poet Seamus Heaney. Meany told CNN, "She embodied for people the possibility of being a poet and a woman and a mother." But the path to widespread recognition was not easy in a literary establishment dominated by men. I just thought, just now, this is a Irish poet and you're writing a limerick right now. That's so fun. What? I could have planned it better. I swear, the wheel rolled limerick. That's crazy. Okay, anyways.
That's too bad.
But the path to widespread recognition was not easy in literary establishment dominated by men. Boland's daughter, Avon Casey, recalled to CNN that her mother once said, "It would be easier to write a poem about a bomb than a baby." There was no place in the Irish poetry for women, Boland's friend, poet and novelist Theo Dorgan told CNN, referencing Boland's seminal 1982 book, Night Feed. He said, "A lot of scholars don't like to go back to that far to poems about breastfeeding and the domestic. It's as if it's not important, yet it was the heart of what Eavan did. Also, you wouldn't be here if somebody didn't give birth to you and breastfed you, or at least gave you formula. So shut the fuck up. This isn't important." Okay, here is a poem from Night Feed, since we're not going to have enough poetry today. "Sit of milk, the last suck, and now your eyes are open, but colored and offended. Earth wakes, you go back to sleep, the feed is ended." That's why I said off-ended instead of to rhyme with ended. Yeah, there you go. From Night Feed by lovely Boland. At the same time, Dorgan said, she could write the most fierce and uncompromising vindication of the rights of women in her poetry and essays. That activist approach was shared by Robinson, who quoted her friend Boland, both of them Trinity College graduates, in her inaugural address as Ireland's first female president in 1990. "I look back on the work together as important in the resurgence of Irish feminism in the 1970s, she said. Her work also had international resonance. Boland read her poem, Our Future Will Become the Path of Other Women, in the UN in 2018 to mark the 100 years of the first Irish woman being able to vote. And when Ireland served on the UN Security Council from 2021 to 2022, we use excerpts from the poem liberally throughout the term. Whether working with women from Afghanistan, Myanmar, or Northern Ireland, it was inspirational." Geraldine Byrne-Nason, Ireland's then ambassador to the UN, and now its envoy to Washington, told CNN. Boland was always an extraordinary mentor to many younger poets, Miani said, holding workshops across Ireland during the 1980s, which were pivotal for those who attended. Ireland is famed for its writers, many of whom studied at Trinity. Samuel Beckett, Oscar Wilde have their names on the buildings to prove it, but until this moment, Trinity has been failing to grade and commemorating its female literary greats. It's a blind spot for the wider country, too. 2017, such was the prevalence of the all-male poster of Ireland's writers that Irish Times felt compelled to create its own version, featuring award-winning female bestsellers. More recently, Irish novelists Sally Rooney and Claire Keegan have had a huge international success. Cillian Murphy starred in 2024's film adaptation of Keegan's Booker Prize shortlist novella, Small Things Like These. And Sally Rooney's novel, Normal People, which has sold over 3 million copies, was adapted into a TV show in 2020 that was streamed to over 65 million times that year. Much of Rooney's novels, in fact, is set in Trinity College, with actors Paul Mescal and Daisy Edgar Jones crossing the cobblestone squares to attend lectures, or in Mescal's case, study in the library in question, that is Boland's building. It's a fitting tribute for a writer who explored how women are kept outside of history, left out of stories that nations tell about themselves with statues and monuments. Heritage is something we choose, Lorjan Smith, professor of heritage and museum studies at Australian National University, told CNN. We decide something is heritage because it's meaning for us in terms of what we want to remember and what we want to commemorate, she said. Heritage isn't just a thing of the past, he added, but all the present and who we want to be. So, Boland's name is on the facade. The plaque will be unveiled to mark the renaming of the building at a special event on the 10th of March. So if you want to be there, I guess head to Trinity College on the 10th. Eavan Boland's name in big letters and for all to behold has not been announced. A spokesperson from Trinity told CNN there were regulatory restrictions on signage on a protected structure like the library, calling the ongoing process a procedural matter. A lot of red tape. The delay has frustrated some. The new sign is to be up pronto, said a history student, Maeve Shaw, who spoke in favor of Boland as a student hosted a debate on the subject of the renaming. I'm sure some people are still calling it Berkeley Library, she tells CNN. I feel like people have reverted back. Old habits die hard. But even Casey allowed herself to imagine her mother's name on the facade. It will become a part of the language of the university, she said in wonder, as if she couldn't quite believe it was true. Vanessa O'Mahony, part of the network of female Irish poets who have campaigned for greater recognition for Boland, the long wait is nearly over. What a glorious thing! An up-and-coming writer to make an arrangement to meet a friend outside the Boland, she said. You know, I'm looking forward to doing that myself. So there's our long story about celebrated Irish poet Boland that you may have never heard of because he talks about womanly things and domestic stuff like no one's ever gone through life experiencing those things. Most relatable things, I would argue, of all time is domestic things. Everyone's being domestic all the time. Anyways, it may not be a war or bombs going off or explosions, but it's just as worthy. Congratulations, Boland, and here's our limerick to celebrate poetry. Irish poetry.
Nope, sorry to disappoint you, but my limerick's about your first story.
Oh, okay. You had so much time to write something about this one.
So much time? What does that time have to do with this? I'm still writing the first one halfway through your second story, so I'm hearing about half of the second
well,
story.
No one said poetry was easy. That's true.
That's the danger of having two stories. You're gonna scatter me on your second story as I'm
I'm just saying the first story was 1 minute long. It was very short.
Exactly. So when I start writing the story, my limerick, your story's already done, and you're in the middle of the next story, and I'm still writing the first limerick. That's my point. It was.
But I warned you there was a short story, so I don't know. It's fine. Continue. Do your thing.
I'm only supposed to do one limerick, by the way, not two. Anyway, while bombers train your soul, while Korean bombers train your soul, 8 bombs each created a massive hole near churches and homes, hospitals and domes as rescue workers count up their toll. So,
whoops.
You got a lot of stories about bombs today.
It's a weird coincidence. I've had that Korean story for like a week or like 3 days because it happened. I thought it happened sooner, but I guess
crazy,
not.
Man. Lucky didn't kill anybody.
Yeah,
Jesus.
Very lucky.
How come you're not flying with dummy bombs, you morons?
That's what I'm saying. Like, why are they arming an entire freaking plane for a test run? All right, I have to give you a mixed metaphor. Oh, maybe not. Yeah, mixed metaphor. Your next story.
Mixed metaphor. Okay, only one story, and it's 6 to 8 minutes. But I guess that's long for me anyway.
Yeah, that's pretty long.
This is from cntraveler.com. Stephanie Waldeck, the Bombardier Global 7500 just broke its 100th speed record. Here's what the flight was like. It's not every day you wish your flight was longer, but after a far too short trip of the $800 million Bombardier Global 7500, I certainly did. Of course, speed was the name of the game during this trip. On February 28th, Canadian aircraft manufacturer Bombardier flew from San Luis Obispo, California to London in 9 hours and 17 minutes, setting the aircraft's 100th speed record and solidifying its status as the fastest business jet in the ultra long-range segment. That is until Bombardier's newest model, the Global 8000, rolls out later this year with a range of 8,000 nautical miles and top speeds of Mach 0.94, Mach being the speed of sound. It is poised to be the world's fastest and longest range business jet yet. Before boarding our flight, we sat down at the Bombardier Speed Record Mission Control at ACI Jet in San Luis Obispo, a do-it-all facility that manages and services aircraft as well as serves as a fixed-base operator, or FBO, or an executive passenger terminal. My first question, why set 100 speed records? Bombardier Senior Director for Communications Mark Masluch explains, aren't only bragging rights, but also demonstrations of real-life performance. When prospective customers are buying the plane, they're not just buying the specs of the aircraft, they're already thinking about the day-to-day, how do I use the aircraft? What cities am I going to be able to fly into? What airports can I get in and out of? What time is it going to take me to get in and out of certain airports? Those customers, if they own the plane outright, are often big corporations or ultra-high net worth individuals. Though one-off charters are also available through partners like VistaJet and XO. For the Global 7500, the most common routes are long-haul journeys between 10 and 17 hours. It has a range of 7,700 nautical miles, the longest in the business jet industry, allowing it to fly non-stop international routes like New York to Hong Kong and Singapore to San Francisco. New York to Hong Kong and Singapore to San Francisco. Look at that, man. That's quite a range. On board the Bombardier, I can't say this right, man. On board the Global 7500, there are 4 zeros. I'm sorry, I can't read now. On board the Global 7500, there are 4 zones, each separated by a door, a crew area with a cockpit, and a galley. A conference room, a living room with a sofa, and a bedroom with up to a queen-size bed. Plus, there are 2 lavatories, including one that can be upgraded with a shower. Wow, this plane's going so fast, I need a shower. I don't understand now. Between these spaces, the jet can seat up to 19 guests, depending on the configuration. Ours had sleeping arrangements for up to 6. Customers can, of course, customize the Global 7500 for their needs. The jet features a conference room, a living room with a sofa, and a bedroom with up to a queen-size bed. This is part of a picture, apparently. The moment I stepped into the plane, our lovely flight attendant, Lenny Fate Himbri, greeted each passenger by name and served a welcome cocktail. As I sipped and settled in, I immediately noticed 2 things that felt worlds away from a typical commercial airline experience. First was the oversized windows that essentially gave you a panoramic view of the world around you, a particularly spectacular experience on California's central coast between the rolling green hills and the bright blue ocean that's flying by. A second was just how astonishingly quiet it was on board. We could easily have conversations across the entire conference room despite being 20 feet away. Then at cruising altitude, we hardly felt any bumps, even over the notoriously bumpy Rockies. We level off between 41,000 and 45,000 feet, about 10,000 feet above commercial airliners, where the plane can not only fly faster, but avoid most turbulence, because you're not flying into the jet stream. Plus, the Global 7500's wings are designed to absorb any bumps for a smoother ride. One of our 3 pilots, BJ Farrell, called the experience of flying the Global 7500 cosmic, as if you're floating in orbit rather than zooming forward at nearly 700 miles per hour. Because the flight is so smooth, it hardly feels as if you're flying, and that's a point of distinction for Bombardier. In theory, your day will just continue as normal as you sit aboard the plane, says Masluch. For execs, that could be taking Zoom calls in a conference room. In-flight Wi-Fi was fast enough on our flight for video calls. For leisure travels, that could be watching a movie in the living room or perhaps even getting a full night of sleep in the bedroom. Full night of sleep, that would be amazing. For 6 of us on board, that was largely just standing in the cabin chatting, relishing the fact that there was enough space to do so comfortably. Eventually, we took our seats for a 3-course dinner. The conference room doubled as a dining room, with a pop-up table that comfortably seated all 6 of us. Soup, salads, steaks, and even pasta bolognese graced the table, followed by an assortment of petite fours. How's that for plain food? It says in parentheses. I don't know what petite fours means, but somebody must. I don't. As we munched on sweets for dessert, I asked Lenise to see a light show. I specifically meant a demonstration of the more than 125 in-cabin light settings, including a dancing rainbow display that I was particularly keen to see. But Mother Nature had a different show in mind. As we were oohing and awing over the cabin lights, Chief Pilot Etienne Cote got on the PA. If we looked to the right, he said, we'd see a pretty striking display of the northern lights. Now, I've been fortunate to see that aurora many times before, that this was an hours-long spectacle that had me glued to the window, seeing all sorts of auroral formations, picket fences, cinnamon buns, shimmering curtains. When I finally dragged myself away to my bed, a cushy mattress pad swathed in thick comforter atop several chairs, the green glow illuminated the cabin. Eventually, I nodded off, only to be awoken by dawn. An hour later, I had time for a quick iced coffee, and that was it. We landed at London's Biggin Hill Airport, and our flight was over far too soon. That said, we had flown to set a record, and we accomplished our mission. Our flight lasted 9 hours and 17 minutes, covering a ground distance of 4,934 nautical miles at the top speed of 690 miles per hour. A commercial flight from Los Angeles to London typically takes 10.5 hours. So we had shaved over an entire hour off a transatlantic journey. Now on to the 101st speed record. The end of the flight. Not the flight of the bumblebees. By the way, I did send you a video last night. So
yeah, you sent it to me last night, so I already saw it.
I completely forgot I did that. Anyway.
It was at your end.
That was the end.
Oh, okay. I was like, it was not clear. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess we should wake up and smell the coffee burning because it's time for the end of the show. We are done. No, we're done. We're not done yet.
Okay. No. All right. Wake up and smell the coffee burning.
We still need to talk about our culture news, which is this is my short story. So this should be pretty quick. Oh, let's roll your metaphor. Or, sorry, not your metaphor, your segue. My mixed metaphor was wake up and smell the coffee burning. Yeah.
Spin the wheel.
All right, here's your mixed metaphor. That's what you got as well. Mixed metaphor.
The wheel was broken, man. Yeah, okay.
Let's finish off our stories before this day in history with some news about making a union. And then suddenly your CEO starts laying off a lot of people. Coincidence? No. This is on The Guardian by Anna Betts. Sesame Workshop, the nonprofit behind Sesame Street, is cutting staff in an effort to downsize significantly, that's in quotes. Its president and CEO, Sherry Rowlands-Weston, told employees this week. The news of layoffs at the organization came this shortly after more than 200 employees at Sesame Workshop revealed their plans to unionize, and comes several months after Warner Bros. Discovery decided not to renew the distribution deal for new episodes of Sesame Street, the long-running beloved child program. In an email to staff on yesterday, the 6th of March, no, not yesterday even, not yesterday, Wednesday, so the 5th of March, Rowlands-Weston told employees that Sesame Workshop was not immune to the current economic challenges inherent to the drastically changing media landscape, and that the end of their distribution deal combined with policy changes affecting their federal funding meant they were confronted with a perfect storm. These factors, among others, have less of a significant budget gap that we must solve as we head into the next fiscal year, she added. I still want to make $10 billion a year, so we're going to have to fire a lot of you. I don't know how much she makes a year. She probably doesn't make $10 billion. Roland Weston said the company's largest single expense was people and benefits. Yeah, maybe if you paid them more, you wouldn't need to pay for benefits. And that company therefore must downsize significantly and make what we hope will be a temporary change to our benefits and bonus program. Yeah, as in you get all the benefits and bonuses and no one else does. I don't trust CEOs, okay? She described the changes as necessary to ensure that the workshop is poised to continue to deliver on its mission for years to come. But that does not make the human impact of these reductions any less painful. Why don't you fire yourself? Then I'll believe you. On the 4th of March, which was Tuesday, more than 200 workers at Sesame Workshop, including early childhood education experts, fundraisers, facility staff, producers, paralegals, and more, declared their desire to form a union with the office and the Professional Employees International Union. In a statement that day, the group said they sought to unionize to ensure that employees could participate in decisions that affect them, including those related to job security and fair play. Sesame Street has taught generations the importance of kindness, fairness, and standing up for what's right. Phoebe Gilpin, the senior director of formal learning at Sesame Workshop, said in a statement when the group announced their desire to unionize. As the dedicated staff behind this beloved show and so much more, we believe Sesame Workshop should embody those same values by ensuring all workers have a voice in the decision that affects us. But coming together, we believe we can build a stronger, more supportive workplace that embodies the crucial lessons that we teach the world's children every day. The cast and crew of Sesame Street, as well as writers, were already unionized and have long been union members. So I don't think any of them got laid off, and if they did, I guess they have union support. But yeah, it's really tragic that Sesame Street has for the longest time been a federally funded show. It was on public broadcasting, PBS. It was on PBS, I believe, right, which is public. Paid by your
corporation, the Corporation for Public Broadcasting.
Yeah, and that's paid for by your donations. That's what you always saw. There were no commercials on the channel, right? It was always, we're able to show this thanks to viewers like you, and then they please keep giving us money so we can continue showing you Sesame Street and all. I grew up on PBS. I think most of the shows I watched were PBS. So.
But they usually say first, they say, this show is brought to you by these following corporations. And
yeah, because they also donate, of course.
They do have sponsors. They're just not showing you commercials.
Yeah. And they don't have any ad revenue. I don't know if they do now, but who knows what they do now.
The ads are at the beginning, in other words. The ads, they show an ad at the beginning. They show the logo of the company and say, hey, look at us, we're generous.
You should buy our stuff. Look at us. We're so good. Well, that's my story. Very short. Just a little update. The very suspicious, layoffs of the people at the workshop just after they announced that they are unionizing. Or maybe they already knew they were about to get laid off. Like, the signs were there. So, we need to unionize before they lay us all off. We have to unionize. But, we'll see what happens after that.
Of course, the metaphor is when the wolf is at your door, bosses will feed the wolf with your flesh. So there's your mixed metaphor.
Delicious.
Delicious human.
All right, let's roll my last wheel here, and then we can go to this day in history.
All right, dispensity.
Always get right on the sliver. It's a haiku. It was almost limerick, but it slightly went over to haiku.
Lucky you.
Yeah, I love haikus. Easy.
Short and sweet.
Counting to 5 and 7, I could do that any day.
Okay, today in history, we're going all the way back to the midst of time in the Roman Empire. In the year 161, before we had 4-digit years, the year 161, Marcus Aurelius became the Emperor of Rome on this day. Possibly, probably not on this day, but somewhere near this day. In 1644, Massachusetts established the first bicameral legislature in North America. That just means there's 2 houses to the legislature. It doesn't mean they're all riding camels. But when I was a kid, why do they have camels? Anyway, bicameral, not camels. 1792, on this day, English astronomer Sir John Herschel, successor to his father Sir William Herschel in the field of stellar and nebular observation and discovery, was born. Happy birthday to Sir John Herschel. I butchered that. In 1850, U.S. Senator Daniel Webster spoke out in favor of the Compromise of 1850. Oh yeah, here's another compromise for y'all. We don't end slavery. We just want to make sure it's comfortable for us to think about. That's all. Serious and moderate measures that address the question of slavery in U.S. territory. Didn't address jack diddly shit at all. It's just them just trying to say, we don't want to do anything. 1872, painter Piet Mondrian, who was an important leader in the development of modern abstract art and is known for his works that possess. Anyway, he was born in Amersfoort, Netherlands. Amersfoort, is that how it's spelled?
Amersfoort, yeah.
Amersfoort. He was an important leader in the development of modern abstract art and known for works that possess a formal purity that embodies a spiritual belief in a harmonious cosmos. Oh, let's say he was one of your Dutch masters, was he not? I don't know. But he was Dutch, and he was a painter, and he was born around the same time as the other ones. 1875, composer Maurice Ravel, who, of course, you know the Bolero, Ravel's Bolero, who was noted for his musical craftsmanship, was born in Cibourne, France in 1875. 1876, 1 year later, Alexander Graham Bell received a patent for the telephone. In 1952, on March 7th, West Indian cricketer Viv Richards was born in Antigua. He earned the nickname Master Blaster as arguably the finest batsman of his generation. Way to go, West Indian cricketer Viv Richards. Happy birthday. 1987, Mike Tyson, American boxer Mike Tyson became the youngest heavyweight champion to acquire the World Boxing Association championship belt when he defeated James Smith in 12 rounds. This is how Mike Tyson talks, by the way. This is his action. I'm gonna knock him into oblivion. Anyway. Back before he was biting ears off Evander Holyfield, 1987, I believe he was only 20 when he became heavyweight champion. Yeah, Mike Tyson. 1999, American director and writer Stanley Kubrick died in England, whose iconic films are characterized by a cool, formal visual style, meticulous attention to detail, and detached and often ironic pessimism. Stanley Kubrick, of course, made, let's see, what movies did he make? He made The Shining, he made Space Odyssey, he made Eyes Wide Shut, he made Clockwork Orange. Did he make not Doctor Strangelove? I'm pretty sure he made Doctor
I think so.
Right? Yeah.
He's made so many films. There's too many. Too many to count. Good ones. What people consider good films, right? He's probably made a lot of bad films, too. You know?
He might have, but the ones I remember are like Space Odyssey and The Shining, of course. And Eyes Wide Shut, his last film with Tom Cruise, he didn't get along with, amazingly. Couldn't get along with Tom Cruise, why? Anyway. 2010, on this day, American director Catherine Bigelow became the first woman to win the Academy Award for Best Director at Hurt Locker. So now the Academy has said, we've done that, we never have to do it again. We only have to nominate a woman. So they did that. And, of course, Hollywood's like, we don't even have to hire women, or we don't have to provide funds for movies. We shouldn't be relying on Hollywood to turn up movies anyway. Because what won Best Picture this year was an independent film that was made for $5 million. That shows you don't need a lot of money to make a movie. And by the way, Hollywood only makes sequels to comic books anymore. And our featured event, 1965, attack on civil rights protesters in Selma, Alabama. This is the 60th year anniversary of this day. In 1965, state troopers used nightsticks and tear gas to attack American civil rights activists as they crossed the bridge to Selma, Alabama during their attempted march to the state capital, Montgomery. And what did they want? They wanted to vote. So if you don't vote, and you don't think it's important, think about these people that get clubbed. A lot of them severely beaten for just trying to exercise their right to vote.
Yeah.
Yeah, this country's always been hosed up. Don't buy the propaganda. Don't salute the flag. Don't sit there and go nationalist on me, because this country's always been ate up and covering up its crimes. Our feature biography, Janet Guthrie, American race car driver. Janet Guthrie, of course, the first woman to drive the Indy 500. She was born March 7th, 1938. She's now 86. So we got to celebrate Janet Guthrie more for being a pioneer. Her birthday is today. She turns 87 and not 86. Thank you much, Britannica, for getting that wrong again. Don't know what year it is. It takes them a year to figure out what year it is, and by the time they do it, it's already the next year. So they're always a year behind in these dates. I did the quick math, and 1938 makes her 87, not 86. See, I took math in high school. 8 other birthdays today. We did Maurice Ravel. 1904 is the birthday of Reinhard Heydrich, German Nazi official. Oh, yeah, we got to remember the Nazis. Oh, let's buy him a cake. I don't know why. Whatever, man. Whatever. 1942, Michael Eisner, who was once the head of Disney, his birthday. It was called American Executives. Bryan Cranston. Bryan Cranston's birthday today. Born in 1956. Walter White, Heisenberg, the guy who played Walter White in Breaking Bad and was also the dad in Malcolm in the Middle. Happy birthday to Bryan Cranston. He is turning 69 today. 69.
Hey, nice.
And it's 1958 is the birthday of Rick Mayhall, British actor and comedian. Don't know who that is. And what day is it today? Man, it's a lot of stuff today. Maybe because it's a Friday. Let's start from the bottom. It's a lot of stuff today. It's National Be Heard Day. So I don't know exactly what that means, but it's National Be Heard Day. It's National Cereal Day, as in the grainy stuff you eat for breakfast. It's National Employee Appreciation Day, which I never feel appreciated at any point in my life as an employee. I've never been for 1 second felt like I was appreciated. So, I don't know. Maybe employers are always just see what they can squeeze out of me. And it's National Crown Roast of Pork Day. That looks really complicated to make. It's National Dress in Blue Day, which I'm not wearing any blue, but I will. My sweater.
I have some blue in my shirt. Yeah, I did it. Woohoo! There you go. You're doing it. You should have probably done that at the beginning of the show, but
I didn't read this until just now. National Dress in Blue Day, National Speech and Debate Education Day. It's National Tartar Sauce Day. Ooh, if you like your sauces with words that repeat themselves, tartar. Not just tar, but tartar. It's National Tartar Sauce. Tartar, as somebody called it. Tartar. In the United States, we say tartar. It's National Flapjack Day. The other day was National Pancakes Day. Don't know the difference. I think they're the same thing. National Hospitalis Day is one thing we started, which is, again, anybody that works at a hospital, and you just lump them into one group. Doctors, nurses, administrators, janitors, everybody.
Yeah.
All the same. Hospitalis.
There's a lot of people who are involved, for sure.
Right on. So, yeah, there's a lot of stuff and food today. Well, those are your stories. Those are your wheel spins. That's your nonsense for March 7th, 2025 on before Crown Roast of Pork.
All right. Well, here is my haiku for you. Kubrick left us great films. Selma fought the power to vote. Pancake or flapjack? What's the difference? No, the what's the difference not part of it because that doesn't fit, but what is the difference? I don't know. Even when I read the page, about flapjacks, it's just like, it's just explaining what they are. Yeah. I think it's just like a style of the same thing, right? Flapjacks, you put more stuff on top, I guess.
I think some guy named Jack just wanted his props, that's all.
It's also, well, not today, but tomorrow, since we won't be here, International United Nations Women's Day. Celebrate women tomorrow by, I don't know, give them flowers or something. That's what people usually do, right? It's time to celebrate equal rights for women and girls, empowerment. This year's theme calls to action to unlock the equal rights, power, and opportunities for all in a feminist future where no one is left behind. Central's vision is empowering the next generation, youth, particularly young women and adolescent girls, as a catalyst for lasting change. Yet you make everyone else believe that that's how things are supposed to be, and then that's how things become. So this has been Allison from the Netherlands, finishing off today's Friday news dump with Roger from the West Coast of the United States. We will see you on Monday to review anything that's happened over the weekend, which nothing ever does. So just don't worry about it, okay? Just don't even think about what's happening. We'll figure it out on Monday. Make sure you're subscribed to the Allie and Ron's channel. You have the notifications on so you know when we go live. And we will see you then. I also want to clarify for this mic drop moment that he did not get arrested for what he said. He got arrested for approaching the bench, which is not allowed in any court of law, unfortunately. So that's why he got arrested. I saw a lot. I've seen this video like 3 weeks ago, and I saw a lot of people in the comments saying, free speech is dead. He got arrested for saying that. He didn't get arrested for what he said. He got arrested for approaching the bench. He did civil disobedience, which civil disobedience includes getting arrested. That is actually part of is doing something disobedient and getting arrested for it. I just want to clarify.
Like the sit-ins at the Woolworths, Diners, and the civil rights.
I just don't want to add to the misinformation that he got arrested for what he said, because that's not why he got arrested.
Okay. All right.
Anyways, let's go to a mic drop moment.
Hi, my name's Chris Cluey, 15-year HB resident. I'm here to speak out against both the plaque and the current city council. As the community made clear at the Library Commission meeting last Tuesday, everyone is in favor of a plaque to celebrate the library, but the vast majority are against including a MAGA acrostic. Okay? Unfortunately, it's clear that this council does not listen, so instead I'm going to take my time to say what MAGA has stood for these past 3 weeks. MAGA stands for trying to erase trans people from existence.
Truth.
MAGA stands for resegregation and racism.
Yep.
MAGA stands for censorship and book bans. MAGA stands for firing air traffic controllers while planes are crashing. MAGA stands for firing the people overseeing our nuclear arsenal. MAGA stands for firing military veterans and those serving them at the VA, including canceling research.
Yeah, fuck those guys.
MAGA stands for cutting funds to education, including for disabled children. MAGA is profoundly corrupt, unmistakably anti-democracy, and most importantly, MAGA is explicitly a Nazi movement. You may have replaced a swastika with a red hat, but that is what it is. I will now engage in the time-honored American tradition of peaceful civil disobedience.
Civil disobedience, woo! Approach that bench.
Which is Gomer cop. These cops are just totally. We can't tackle him. Oh boy, get him. He's gonna do something profound and heroic. Let's be the bad guys immediately.
We're gonna take. We're gonna take a 5-minute recess.
They didn't show the shot. I saw a different video where you actually saw him get tackled. This is a different video. Censorship! They've censored it!
Be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and notify buttons, and follow our other channels, Toxic Alley, History of Gravy, and Scratchy Old Records.